Halo.
Why? 'Cause
Halo.
we'll fucking kill you.
So I wanted to play Haze when it first came out because I was a big fan of the developers Free Radical and their Timesplitters series. I really liked the look of it. The yellow power armor still looks cool, and I like the corn tie-in song.
Wanna get through fire. Wanna get through pain.
The fact it was called a Halo killer was interesting. I picked up the previous supposed Halo killer Killzone and enjoyed that, mainly because I didn't have an Xbox at the time, so I couldn't play Halo myself. I had to resort to going over friends' houses. I didn't get Haze in the end because A, I didn't have a PS3 at the time, and B, ended up getting a 360 and playing Halo 3 instead. I was also 17, so I didn't have massive amounts of funds. I watched a walkthrough back in the early days of YouTube, and thought it looked fine. I then watched some reviews of it, which basically said it was crap and promptly forgot about it, occasionally remembering it while watching retrospectives. I picked it up this year for 50p, because there wasn't really that much else to do this year, and I figured, for that price, it wouldn't hurt too much. I mean, 50p is cheaper than most chocolate bars nowadays. So I ended up playing it, and it was okay. It wasn't terrible, to be honest. Granted, if I'd paid full price for it, I would have been pissed. The graphics aren't great. They look very high-end PS2. But that generally happens for most early games on a new console. Then again, Resistance was a launch title for the PS3, and that looked better. That doesn't bother me though. I grew up on sprites, early 3D stuff, and PS2 graphics, so anything better than those is good to me. The obvious low times were also a chore/hilarious. There are times when it looks like your character's fallen asleep and woken up in a different location, and if you imagine he's sleepwalking to the next location, it's quite funny. The campaign took about 4 hours, and that included me taking the occasional break. It's not very long. The people who bought it for full price back in the day and completed it that same day, I feel sorry for. The storyline is somewhat interesting though. Basically, it's a war is bad type of game, where you fight the corporation Mantell against the Promised Hand rebels. You use a drug called Nectar to give you heightened abilities to help you fight. It also masks the horrors of war, aka doesn't show you dead bodies. You switch sides when you realise Mantell are abusing their powers, and you try and take them down with the help of the Promised Hand rebels and their leader. Switching sides means you lose the Nectar abilities, but you gain the ability to steal an enemy's weapon, which is used most of the time as they gun you down before you can get close. And if you are close, you're generally shooting them anyway. You also gain the ability to play dead, because they don't see dead bodies, allowing you to recover some health, which is kind of cool. At the end of the game, you destroy the Nectar base, stopping the soldiers from using it and defeat your former squad mates. The Promised Hand leader then proceeds to say he'll use Nectar on his men, but will combine it with free will.
What do you mean?
Positivity, optimism, they're powerful tools in making a country a better, happier place. Don't you think that if the drug can put my people into that frame of mind, it is not such a bad thing? Here it was just mismanaged. I would combine it with free will.
He'll do the same thing, but differently this time. Basically asking you if there's truly a difference between the two sides in a war, etc, etc. And then the game ends. I was told the Black Mirror episode Men Against Fire has a similar plot, with an implant making soldiers believe ordinary humans are violent mutants that must be killed. I haven't watched it, but that does sound pretty similar. Would be funny if Haze helped influence that. Gameplay wise, it's pretty standard. You're in an open map, shoot the bad guys, get to the marker, do the objective, rinse, repeat. It's a bit janky in places, but overall it worked. The aiming was a bit off when you're playing as a Mantell employee, at least for me, and the vehicle controls weren't great either. But then again, there are loads of FPS games with vehicle control problems. When you play as a Mantell soldier, you can absorb tons of damage and dish it out effectively. When you change sides, it stays the same. You can still take a large amount of damage, and if you pretend to be dead, you can recover easily, rinse, and repeat. The weapons are limited, and seeing as this game is an FPS, that kind of works against it. You get Mantell weapons and Promised Hand weapons, but they're basically the same. I didn't notice any major differences except the look, and some hold marginally more ammo than the others. You get a pistol, an assault rifle for each side, a shotgun for each side, a sniper rifle for each side, a rocket launcher, a flamethrower, minigun, throwing knives, grenades, and nectar grenades, which are basically poison grenades as they make the Mantel soldiers overdose. The weapons have a similar look to the weapons in Halo, giving even more comparisons on top of the similarities in gameplay and both having power armor. The point being, the game could have been so much better with a few tweaks. Not every game has to have groundbreaking graphics or gameplay. It has to have something interesting, whether that be storyline, weapons or characters. The overall plot is fine I guess, but I'd go over the top. Do a Robocop Starship Troopers type satire, with a splash of Demolition Man.
Young people from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Join the mobile infantry and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship.
Robo, excuse me, Robo. Any special message for all the kids watching at home?
Stay out of trouble.
We're police officers. We're not trained to handle this kind of violence.
Have Mantel soldiers be cartoonishly bad. They kind of do this in the game already to be fair, but do it up to 11.
Took my meds, my nectar. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna take your finger.
Play up Nectarluck's soldier cocaine even more than they already do.
I am so ready to liberate some natives.
Hell yeah! Boosh! You feeling righteous today, boys?
Sir, yes, sir!
Boosh! And that's how we do it!
An empty hand is just a grip away from holding a gun.
So?
You gotta take them down before they can pick it up.
Boosh!
Make the soldiers want to fight anyone and everyone, including themselves. Make the Promised Land the stereotypical dour rebels and show more of them, so you get that sort of vibe, like the Undercity dwellers in Demolition Man.
See, according to Cocteau's plan, I'm the enemy. Because I like to think. I like to read. I'm into freedom of speech and freedom of choice. I've seen the future. You know what it is? It's a 47-year-old virgin sitting around in his beige pajamas, drinking a banana broccoli shake, singing I'm an Oscar Mayer wiener.
Also, have more variety in terms of weapons. I'm not saying have 50 different weapons, but at least have some cool ones along with the regular kinds. Add a plasma rifle, a crossbow, those sorts of things. Make the assault rifles for each side noticeably different, like Mantel's are fully automatic with a large ammo clip. Make the Promised Lands only semi-automatic with a smaller clip. That sort of thing. Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation mentioned from when you switch sides, it should have switched to more stealth-based gameplay. And I have to agree, you'd get more mileage out of a game like that. Heck, I'd go one step further and make 2 campaigns where you play as both a Mantel guy and a Promised Land guy, and once you finish both campaigns, you get the final part of the game, where you play as both protagonists with the campaigns converging. That would be cool. That's all wishful thinking, of course. I highly doubt Haze is high up on the hypothetical remake/reboot list. It's definitely a missed potential game though. But hey, at least we got that cool avatar from the box art.